But even the bravest pirate could not escape the gallows forever. Hunted across the Atlantic and finally brought to justice, the captain faced death with a smile that shocked everyone who watched. His ship vanished, his crew was scattered, and the black flag fell forever. Yet his final moments became one of the darkest legends of the Golden Age of Piracy, proving that while the crown could end a pirate's life, it could never completely erase his legend.
Enjoy the video, and don't forget to subscribe.
Trace your finger along the map from Nassau to London and picture the year 1722 as the smell of rotting oak, boiling pine tar, damp hemp rigging, stale bilge water, sulfur, wet canvas, and cold Atlantic spray drifted beneath low gray clouds while every snapping sail echoed across an unforgiving sea. Somewhere beyond the horizon sailed a pirate captain whose confidence never faltered, even after Royal Navy sloops closed every avenue of escape. His fate would become one of the most chilling episodes of the Golden Age of Piracy, because witnesses later insisted that he smiled as the hangman's noose tightened around his neck. Long before that final morning, his vessel had been built around massive white oak futtocks fastened with hand-forged iron spikes nearly 12 inches long beneath a pronounced tumble-home that strengthened the hull against heavy Atlantic swells. During repeated careening, the crew scraped away barnacles before forcing twisted oakum into every seam with caulking irons and sealing the planking beneath boiling pine tar that hardened into a resilient waterproof barrier. The brig displaced roughly 120 tons, measured nearly 80 feet along the keel, and carried 12 bronze cannon cast from an alloy averaging approximately 88% copper and 10% tin, with trace impurities that resisted corrosion far better than iron. Every gun rested upon reinforced oak carriages secured by breeching ropes nearly 5 inches thick. Black powder stored inside tightly co-opted barrels consisted of roughly 75% saltpeter, 15% charcoal, and 10% sulfur, its carefully graded grains producing a controlled explosion that transformed expanding gases into devastating force capable of splintering oak planks into lethal wooden fragments before any boarding action even began. The captain's authority extended far beyond the quarterdeck because every voyage depended upon discipline enforced through carefully negotiated articles of agreement that promised shares of captured cargo, compensation for shattered limbs, and severe punishment for theft or cowardice. Unlike naval officers serving beneath royal commissions or letters of marque, pirate captains ruled only while their crews believed success outweighed danger, making every decision a constant balance between fear and reward. Before dawn, the boatswain inspected standing rigging for chafed hemp fibers weakened by salt crystals, while the carpenter examined deck beams, knees, mast partners, and limber holes where trapped moisture silently encouraged decay. Even slight movement within the futtocks could threaten the vessel's structural integrity during heavy seas, forcing immediate repairs using oak wedges, iron drift pins, and fresh tar. Cannon crews drilled relentlessly despite blistering heat. Powder monkeys carried leather cartridges from the magazine beneath strict orders to avoid sparks, each vent sealed with a thumb stall before the glowing slow match ignited the priming powder. The combustion raced through the touch hole in fractions of a second, creating pressures exceeding thousands of pounds against the bronze chamber before the iron round shot accelerated through the bore and smashed into enemy hulls. White oak fibers did not simply crack upon impact. They exploded into razor-sharp splinters that ricocheted across confined gun decks with greater lethality than the cannonball itself. The captain watched every broadside without flinching, smiling beneath smoke blackened by sulfur as shattered masts collapsed into tangled rigging and terrified merchant sailors abandoned hope long before the grappling hooks finally bit into their scarred bulwarks. Victory never depended upon brutality alone because survival required relentless maintenance that consumed far more hours than battle itself. Salt crystals crept into every block and sheave. Hemp shrouds absorbed moisture until their fibers swelled, and iron chain plates slowly surrendered to corrosion despite repeated coatings of grease and tar. The Kawapa constantly tightened shrinking barrel hoops so precious freshwater remained drinkable during weeks beneath a scorching Caribbean sun, while the sailmaker stitched torn canvas using heavy palm needles and waxed twine capable of resisting powerful Atlantic winds. The captain understood that one neglected pump, one weakened mast, or one cracked gun carriage could destroy an entire voyage more effectively than any Royal Navy broadside. Yet fortune eventually deserted him. Merchant convoys began sailing beneath stronger escorts. Colonial governors exchanged intelligence with unprecedented speed, and naval frigates hunted pirate anchorages with disciplined determination. A fast sixth-rate warship finally cornered his brig after a relentless pursuit through shoals where shifting sandbanks and unpredictable currents denied every escape. The pirate crew attempted to lighten the vessel by throwing spare spars, damaged anchors, and even valuable cargo overboard, but the additional speed proved meaningless against fresh naval sails trimmed with practiced precision. Grapeshot ripped through the weather deck, shredding, rigging, and cutting hemp lines into whipping strands while musket fire swept the fighting tops. Within minutes, splintered bulwarks, shattered dead-ease, broken capstan bars, and pools of blood transformed the once proud pirate vessel into a floating wreck whose black flag hung in torn ribbons beneath a smoke-darkened mainmast as the captain calmly surrendered with the same unsettling smile that had unsettled both enemies and his own exhausted crew. Captured alive, the captain began the longest voyage of his life, not across the Atlantic in pursuit of merchant prizes, but toward a crowded courtroom where admirals, merchants, naval officers, and frightened witnesses waited to describe every raid committed beneath his command. Iron shackles weighing several pounds chafed his ankles with every movement as the transport vessel rolled through heavy swells, yet he neither pleaded nor protested. Court records from the period reveal that piracy trials moved with remarkable speed, because confessions, seized cargo, navigational journals, and testimony from surviving captives often created overwhelming evidence. His own charts displayed carefully marked shoals, hidden anchorages, prevailing trade winds, and currents that had allowed countless successful ambushes. Prosecutors described burned settlements, looted warehouses, murdered captains, and merchant brigs stripped down to their hulls before being scuttled offshore. Every accusation was answered only by quiet silence or an expression bordering on amusement. Outside, the courtroom crowds gathered from sunrise, hoping to witness the downfall of another infamous sea robber whose name had once frightened entire colonies. Shipwrights, rope makers, chandlers, kawapas, sailors, and dock laborers recognized every technical detail discussed during testimony because they understood exactly how much preparation lay behind each pirate voyage. They knew the importance of properly seasoned white oak, correctly forged anchor flukes, balanced rudder pintles and gudgeons, carefully spliced standing, rigging, and magazines protected from accidental sparks. To them, the coming execution represented not only justice, but the symbolic defeat of years during which commerce, insurance rates, and ordinary maritime life had been held hostage by men who believed the Atlantic belonged only to those willing to seize it with cannon, smoke, and steel. Execution morning arrived beneath a cold gray sky as the condemned captain climbed the worn wooden scaffold with steady steps. The hemp rope had been twisted from durable long fibers nearly an inch thick, its noose carefully formed to tighten beneath the weight of the body. Around him stood soldiers with fixed bayonets, clergy offering final prayers, and thousands of spectators expecting fear, tears, or desperate pleas. Instead, the captain slowly surveyed the crowd, glanced once toward the River Thames crowded with merchant masts, and smiled. Witnesses later claimed the expression never faded, even as the executioner placed the noose around his neck and adjusted the knot beneath his jaw. At the final signal, the platform dropped, ending the career of a man who had terrorized the Atlantic, yet faced death with a composure that became almost as legendary as his crimes. After the body was cut down, the legend refused to die. Sailors repeated the story in waterfront taverns from London to Port Royal, insisting that no chain, courtroom, or gallows had managed to break the captain's spirit. Whether the smile reflected courage, defiance, madness, or simple acceptance remains impossible to prove, but it ensured that his final moments became inseparable from the history of the Golden Age of Piracy. The black flag vanished, the ship rotted away, and the cannon fell silent. Yet the image of a pirate captain smiling as the noose tightened endured long after the Atlantic reclaimed every trace of the world he had once ruled through violence and fear.